Alright, so we are live and in session once again. Hello my friends and welcome to another edition of the Frustrated Healer podcast. And as you can see, today's topic is gonna be something a little bit more light, more casual. It's essentially telling you about the stories and experiences, what it felt like, what it was like growing up in the Philippines as a hardcore gamer. And it was a very different experience, I'll tell you that much. Before we get started, let me just give a quick shout out to the early birds in the chat. We got Kat, Victor, Luxray, and Matt. Very good. Hello, hello. So, this one is going to be, this podcast is going to be a bit more of the informal side. Kind of going to be more like the chatting streams we have about when I was just telling you guys some stories. So it's kind of funny how you mentioned SEA gang, because that is essentially what it boils down to, no? So just a little bit of history. I think you guys are gonna find out a few things about me today too. So it's if you guys didn't know, the Philippines has always been very behind with tech. Like, to this day, there are certain offices that still use Windows XP. Now, I know XP is a very good OS. And yeah, I know you don't really need an RTX 3090 to just go through whatever documents and whatever idiocy the government is trying to make you jump hoops through. But you get the point. So I grew up in what I consider the golden age of gaming. I was a 90s kid. So I grew up in the time of a lot of couch co-op. And my very first console was the NES. I spent so much time on the NES. That was my very first console. I remember I was playing games since I was like, 3 years old? As far as I can remember, I started playing games at 3 years old, and the first game I played was Super Mario. So, start them off early, right? Oh, hello, Prim and Logathor. Yeah. So, it was still, the super simple era. And gaming was not very expensive at the time. Either that, or you would Hosho Marine your way through things. Because, look, let me put it this way. If gaming in the Philippines got very expensive later on in life, because let's say the price of a new game right now, it's still around $60, right? $60 if you're in the standard of the Western world. $60, it's like what, 3 or 4 meals, cheaper meals, And in the Philippines, when you adjust the cost of living for that, the thing is, it's just converted directly to our currency. But it's not adjusted for regional pricing. So that's $60. You have to multiply that by 50. That is a whopping 3,000 pesos. Now, I know depending on the currency, it doesn't sound very much, But 3,000 pesos, 3,000 pesos can get you a lot in the Philippines. If like 60 bucks is like maybe 3 meals, 3,000 pesos can get you, yeah, what Jeff's over here said. It could definitely get you like a month's living expense back in the day. Now, not anymore, but it just kind of puts it into perspective. Like a decent meal would cost you like, what? Now, even with the pricing adjustments, right? 3,000 pesos can get you quite a lot of food. Can get you quite a few decent meals. So just adjusting for that. It was tough. It was a very expensive hobby, all things considered. No? And that also led to a lot of people going the Hoso Marine route of becoming part of the pirate crew. Because it really was just cheaper. And right now, thankfully, Steam adjusts the prices regionally. But back in the day, we didn't. I learned how to do emulation on limited hardware and limited knowledge. But that's because it was so easy to get my games that way. Because it was so damn expensive. And the thing is, there weren't really any regulations in place for the Philippines in terms of piracy and blah blah blah. It's the third world. Unfortunately, to phrase it bluntly, we're too poor to care about that kind of stuff. It's the reality of it. No? But going back to that, after the NES, I did spend a ton of time there, and we did get a lot of those homebrew cartridges that were just essentially, NES ROM hacks. It was those cartridges that had like 50 games in one. That was the rage all the whole time back then. Unnamed, unbranded bootleg carts. And some of them would even come with inbuilt cheats. Like, the Konami code would get you the 30 lives. Bro, there was this cartridge I owned. It was like the games were split into 2 lists. The standard mode, and then I remember it was called, I think they called it under crazy mode or something like that. It was called crazy mode. Nemo, hey, calm down. He just smashed his face into the freaking door. Sorry, if you heard that noise, that was Nemo smashing his face into the glass door. Nemo. Oh my god. Sorry, that noise jolted me a little bit. So there was like I said, split into 2 menus. First was standard mode. The second was crazy mode. And all of the games there had like the 99 lives mode or 30 lives mode. It was crazy. Like before, it was literally crazy mode. Whenever you started the game, it would open a small like Game Shark menu asking you how many lives you wanted to start with. We even had VCD players with games on them. My goodness. And you had to play them with a really crappy DVD remote. And they were really primitive games too. Kind of like, think about it like early mobile games. Bootleg gang. Yep. There were so many wild distributed games that were complete bootlegs. And then yeah, what we did get was not the original NES. We had the what was called the Famicom, right? The family computer. I guess that was the way it was marketed outside of the West. we are not really that different with the US and the Latam. I mean, the Philippines is usually called the Mexico of SEA, or I guess based on the stories I've told you guys, I feel like you guys are convinced that it's the Florida of SEA. Yeah, I mean, we are kind of like the Mexico of Asia because, like, if you look at a lot of Filipinos, like, our features are not as unified as the rest of our neighbors. No? And it's like, you know, a lot of our neighboring countries have the stereotypical Asian features of the the more slanted eyes and, the lighter skin. But a lot of Filipinos are darker skinned. Val is normally confused here for a Latina. They don't peg her as Filipino or Asian. No, it's like they peg her as Latina, and I can see why. The only reason why they don't see me as one is because I'm a lighter skinned guy. So yeah. You're being colonized. Yeah, that's what they'll do to you. The country was just colonized by how many different kinds of cultures all the time. And what we got now was a hodgepodge of culture. We are a bit of a strange melting pot of culture. Latino! I want to just go on a quick tangent there. I was just watching some old Eddie Guerrero clips of like the creative cheating. Or like he would whack the steel chair on the canvas, throw it to the guy, then pretend to be knocked down. Love it. Anyway, so the thing is with me, I skipped the SNES era. From NES, I went straight to the PS1. Oh boy, I'll tell you guys, the PS1 in the Philippines. Oh boy, you would get these. You could buy CDs. Of course, they were Hosho Marin edition. But like, you could buy them from literally anywhere in the big malls in the Philippines. And they would be sold to you for like 50 pesos each. That's $1. Oh, $1. Yeah, they'd sell it to you for 50 pesos and it's a full CD already. Bootleg disc circulation was mad. Yeah, you guys go to Oi, the OGs in the chat. Paul, Jeff, CD King. You guys miss those? CD King. And then there was also, I need to explain this to you, chat. There was a magical place. I think my boys in the chat already know where I'm going with this. There was a magical place back home where that was like seen as the holy grail. It was the center of all this wacky tech, of all the, the bootleg distribution and all that stuff. And we simply called it Green Hills. Green Hills. I know we literally have a Green Hill zone, but yeah, okay. So let me explain what Green Hills was. You haven't seen many PlayStations, but then you need a mod chip or something to play Burn Disc. Well, Victor, the funny thing is every single PlayStation back home was modded. Every single one was modded out of the gate. It was fantastic. When my dad bought me the PS1, he brought it home and he bought me. He already had a stack of 15 games for me, and it only cost him just that much. You know what I mean? Modded was the norm, Kat. Absolutely. You wouldn't be able to find. In fact, in the Philippines, it was more difficult to find original. It was more difficult to find original than it was to find the Hosho Marine edition, the pirated ones. And yes. So the two places there were Green Hills and Gilmore. Gilmore had all the legit stuff and nobody was there. There was absolutely no one at Gilmore. Green Hills was packed to the brim. All of these people, they were, we were actually ahead of the curve. We were actually ahead of the curve because we Filipinos, we're an innovative bunch. We like to implement a lot of ingenuity. Now the thing is, we like to use our superpowers for wrong. we like to use our superpowers for the wrong thing. And let me explain it. Let me explain it this way, chat. When Val's family, it was really funny. They're based here, no? But there was a time when my father-in-law was telling me he visited the Philippines one time, and he went to Green Hills. He went to the local music store in Green Hills. He went to see the King. And he saw all of these music albums lined up, and he's like, these aren't even released in the US yet. And then he was asking the store owners, like, you know, the people at the front counter, like, how did you guys get your hands on these? It's like, these aren't even out in circulation yet. And he said, sir, don't worry about it. They were burnt into the discs. They found the files. They burned it into CDs, sold it to you for dirt cheap, and there you go. They distributed all the CDs. You could pop those CDs into your car, you know, into your car's CD player. It would play, no problem. And all it cost you was the same amount of money as it would cost to get an ice cream and French fries at McDonald's or a Jollibee. Oh, wow. That was the life back then. It was wild. It was really wild. And because of that, I managed to amass a relatively strong collection of PS1 games. I had over 100 titles. I think I had, by the end of my PS1, by the time I stopped using it, I believe I had about 150 games or so. And yeah, last their source was LimeWire. LimeWire, of course. The tool of the professional. The choice of the cultured. Yeah, man, we'd get the stuff from LimeWire, free viruses. Oh my lord. Oh, so that era when the CD-ROM became the big kid in town, everyone jumped on that. Everyone jumped on it, and that's why to this day I hold such fond memories. I was able to play all the fun games. My goodness, I would even borrow, you know, and then at school, you were not allowed to bring your CDs, but my friends and I would trade CDs with each other. After school, we just meet at the parking lot And we'd trade CDs. It's like, oh, what am I getting for you today? So like I would trade in my I would give him my copy of Street Fighter Alpha or something, and then he'd pass me like what did he pass me? He passed me a copy of like Atlantis. And the funny thing is, Victor, on that note, yeah, the PS2, we did the same thing. Yeah. And then chat, we must talk about, you cannot, all right? You cannot talk about gaming in the PH, gaming in the Philippines, without the PCs and the MMO era. The LAN parties, all the RTS games, the MMOs, Jeff, this is still your ballpark, my friend. Comp shop tayo, yeah boy. Okay, all right. So let's put it this way, you guys. Back in the day, I'm not sure if you guys are the OGs in the chat probably remember this, but the biggest thing for the longest time was Ragnarok Online. Was RO. Everyone played RO. And the funniest thing about RO Paul, Jeff, do you remember the prepaid card era of Ragnarok? The prepaid card era of RO. So what does that mean, Chad? For those of you who didn't grow up there, let me explain. Let me explain what that meant. See, we didn't have subscriptions yet in the day. All the online stuff, right? So what would happen is, was, instead of having a subscription service or something like that, you would buy prepaid cards that had a certain amount of time that you could play. Game time paid in real money to substitute for the fact that you couldn't have a subscription service back then. So you would literally pay like what? What was the currency again, you guys? Was it like 20 pesos? For how much time? I can't remember anymore. But essentially you would like go to like local sari-sari stores even. Sometimes they would even carry those. You'd go to like your 7-Elevens, convenience stores, whatever. Or the computer shop itself. They'd sell you the cards. 20 pesos is 1 hour. There you go. 20 pesos is 1 hour of connection. And then, everyone was playing it. So people made such a killing. They made such a killing from prepaid cards. And then people started to get smarter about the internet. We started to use the Green Hills meta. And we discovered the wonders of private servers. And once we discovered the power of private servers, that was it. The moment we got the private servers, where you could even hack in or you could like increase the drop rates of items, your 0.0 3% drop rate suddenly became a 3% drop rate, not 0.3. Multiply those odds by 10%, by 10 times. Exactly. Private servers were the norm back there too. You have Lineage. Mu Online! Man, we had Ragnarok, we had Flife, we had Ran Online, we had Mu Online, we had, oh my god, we had so many MMOs. I believe the big one for us, the biggest one was definitely Ragna. I remember in high school, some friends and I, they decided to, find a private server. And it was funny because literally half of my high school section, half of us in that class, we were always online in that server. Grand Jace, my gosh, these are some real nostalgic names. And then, this was just the MMO scene, chat. RF Online, Rose Online. We played all of the MMOs. We really played all the MMOs. Terra Online as well. Yup. He used to screenshot the characters in Flife and draw them on paper. That really was the thing. It was so popular. God, Tantra Online. Paul. You are bringing back a lot of fond memories. You can see a lot of these things were very common back in the day. And you know why those games were always so popular, chat? Because for the most part, MMOs were usually free. Or you'd find a free way to play them. Because they didn't break the bank. It required a lot of time and grinding, of course, as it is with any MMO. But for the most part, it really was just an affordable way to spend a lot of time online, play the games you wanted, and spend it maybe with some friends or so, That's why those things were so popular in our area. Cat, you don't know any of these. Oh, this is where the cultural differences start to show up, no? Napol, what's up? It is also the most interactive. My god, yes. Okay, MMOs were also the location of a lot of online dating back in the day, chat. My goodness, I tell you what, that's Look, Tinder got nothing on us, right? It was very SEA. For some reason, it was very SEA. PH bros, the ID bros, like, we're all really speaking on the same language here. A lot of folks in the West is like, what are you guys talking about? But like, those games were really the big deal then. And the funny thing is, this is just talking about the MMOs. But we need to talk about the LAN parties. Because alongside those MMOs, just a little bit of time, within that MMO era, well, there was a game that showed up by the name of Warcraft 3. And in Warcraft 3 was a map called Dota. And at that point, the game was changed forever. Dota 1. Okay? It got to such a wild time that, for me, as you can see, I am the war chief. So I loved Warcraft 3. Not even just for Dota. I played the campaign how many times over? Both Reign of Chaos and Frozen Throne. I love those games so much. My cousins didn't give a flying F about the standard RTS of Warcraft. The only thing they knew was Dota. And that was a surprising revelation for a lot of people. There were so many folks back home who only have played Dota and have never actually touched the standard Warcraft campaign even once. It's insane. You skipped Warcraft and went straight to Dota. ROC and TFT colored my life and then Dota repainted it forever. Yeah, exactly. And even then, like even before Warcraft, just like a couple of years before Warcraft, we had Red Alert. Red Alert 2. Still one of the best games ever. I learned my lesson as a child very early. Because as soon as I heard the era of reporting, I'm like, what is that? What is that? Right? I had no idea. I was still a noob. I was still a newbie, right? I was like, what is that? That's a really cool sounding voice line, a little intimidating, but I don't know what that is. So I'm just still building my base, getting resources and stuff like that. Later on, I hear another era of reporting. I'm like, okay, why is that repeating? Why is that repeating? I don't know what that is. I don't know who's doing that, but okay. I'll just keep building up, I was building up land forces, land armies. Then a third one. Then a fourth. I'm like, I really have no idea what that is. And then it goes quiet. It goes real quiet. And then, in the corner of my eye, on the map, I see these giant blimps with these really cool paint jobs on them. I'm like, what the hell is that? And how do I fight it? And it's like, you highlighted, it says Kirov airship. I had no anti-air. So I was instantly wiped out, and I loved the game ever since. I was obliterated by a squad of Kirovs, and I loved the game ever since. We even had modded Red Alert 2 games in certain computer shops. Where they would introduce all of these new units, these new ways of fighting. Some of them would even go so far as to create custom campaigns. Hello, Don. But yeah, that was the experience that back then. That was the fun of it all. The LAN party mode. And then it got to a point, it was kind of funny. Because I had strict parents. Or they really wanted me to focus on my studies. But high school was the peak. Exactly that, Paul. That Counter-Strike 1.6. We had Red Alert. We had Dota. We had all of these games. We had StarCraft. We had Battle Realms. We had all of this stuff. We had all of this great stuff. And, well, I spent a little too much time at the computer shops with my friends and my cousins, and my grades kind of... So, they limited my game time. They limited my game time as a result. But it didn't stop me from playing. Point Blank and Crossfire. We had so many fun games back home. Unfortunately, that also exposure to that scene also led me to becoming a bit of a toxic gamer for a time, and it was not necessarily my proudest moments, but The whole 1v1 me, bro. I mean, why do you think I'm called the frustrated healer? It's from my MOBA experience. It is so frustrating. I had to become the healer because nobody else wanted to play healer. Toxic is in our nature. I know. And there would be these people who would challenge me sometimes, right? We'd get toxic in the computer shop. Be like, oh, 1v1 me, bro. And I'm like, okay, sure, 1v1 you. And then what I would do is this one's a little bit specific if you don't play Dota, so I'll make this one quick. They'd be like, oh, well, 1v1 me, bro. So I'm like, okay, sure, fine. What I would do is like we'd set the lane to be, mid only. Mid only, of course, because it's just like just 1v1 in the middle lane, solo mid. So what I would do is I would pick Axe. I'd pick Axe. I'd go straight down the middle lane. I would intercept all of his the creeps. I'd intercept all of his creeps. My creeps would come in and just, start whacking, start destroying middle lane. He couldn't do anything because I was standing in his way, and the other lanes wouldn't spawn any creeps, any minions. I would just stand there in his way, just over an overwhelming creep wave, just uncontested. I would just stand there. He couldn't do anything. He couldn't gain XP. He couldn't do anything. Between the first two towers, exactly, Lux. You know it. I did that, the guy would tilt and he'd rage quit. So that was the thing. That was the thing. You would play Dota in the computer shop and it was LAN parties because honestly, internet back home sucks. And okay, we really hated the fact, all of us in back home, we absolutely hated when the whole always online requirement became a thing for games. We all absolutely hated the always online requirement because, look, it was a death knell. The connection back home sucked so much. Like, the kind of connection you need to really maintain a steady stream of gameplay was just not possible. Yeah, DSL connection was, it was bad, but like they were all advertising it. Oh, DSL, this is the internet of the future. Like, oh, right, DSL. And what would happen was you couldn't play ranked, you could barely play online because of the threat of constant disconnects outside of with things out of your control. It's not just your spotty connection. All right, let's put it this way. You could have power outages because there were like rotating blackouts in your region. You could have storms. You could have other physical obstructions. Someone trips over the wire or something like that. Hell, at certain points, it felt like an act of God and lightning would strike the power line outside your house. And it happens more often than you think. You have no idea how often it happens that a freaking lightning strike on the power lines would cause the whole street, the whole village to just go out. So imagine you're playing ranked and then boom, you're out. That's it. And then you get a ban, you get an ELO penalty, you get all of this stuff, and through things outside of your control. It was so frustrating. And for those of us who were still stubborn enough to attempt to still play online, especially because we were Dota addicts and we still needed to play, I need to say something. I need to just say one name that turned into another name. It was initially called GG Client and was later renamed to Garena. That experience was awful. All that was constantly happening, it was the poor man's BattleNet. Yes. Essentially, Kat, let me put it this way. Garena was kind of like a more localized BattleNet. But it was meant to connect people on a regional basis. We used it so much in SEA. They had servers for local connections in Malaysia, Singapore, ID, Philippines. And the Philippine servers were always overpopulated. And they were so toxic, they were so bad. You could never get a good quality match because so many people were just toxic rage quitters, and there was no penalty for rage quitting. Some people would just get disconnected due to outside circumstances. So the PH server was crowded with the Dota addicts, and what happened was, it happens so often. If someone gets first blood, the guy who got killed has a good chance to disconnect. That was the experience back then. It sucked. Whoever gets killed first, they're gonna be like, I DC'd. Sure. Some people really get DC'd, but some people like rage quit instantly, and there's no penalty. So you would never get a good game out of it. That's why it was always so much better to have that experience at a to do LAN parties, because it was a local connection, and because you're there too face to face, like some people can get into fights. Yeah. And while certain times have gotten violent, thankfully I just remembered that incident. But that wasn't as a result of that was not a result of saltiness, of toxicity. It was just they DC legit, they'd rage quit, or they would run out of time in a PC shop. Exactly. That's why LAN parties were always the best. And the thing is, I got so addicted to Dota at some point. Like, my cousins and I would actually compete in these local tournaments. We wouldn't win any of them, but we would just play in them. Just for the hell of it. It was fun. It was it just felt like that. It was just fun. It was just fun stuff. And it's like, you cannot talk about pustahan sa com shop, everyone contributes 100 pesos to the pool, and whoever wins that match, they get the prize pool. 20-20 pustahan sa com shop. Yep. Sometimes it'd be like $20, and then the high rollers would bet, like, would throw in 100 pesos. And then the standard rate was $20. Ay, Jeff, you can't talk about RC Cola or Coke without talking about the quintessential menu of the computer shop. You needed to have the siomai with rice or the pancit canton. Instant noodles is what it is, chat. We'd either have siomai with rice, or you'd have the instant noodles. Hello, Kaiga. You guys probably had Indomie in your places. With egg and spam! With egg and spam! Lux! SEA connection, bro, let's go! So So Kaika, if you're just tuning in, you're just jumping in, we are just talking about the meta of the Philippine computer shop. And in Korea, they have premium food at their net cafes. Look, okay, the funny thing is in Korea, their esports teams are seen as absolute celebrities. Like, their esports teams are the kinds of people who would go to baseball stadiums and throw first pitch. Yeah. Let's see other stories from the chat here. We got from Jeff. Gaming true story. You once survived the whole day of piloting job for a Dragon Nest account with just one small roller coaster packet and 1 ounce fruit soda for 1 8-ounce fruit soda for a whole day. My God, that sounds about right. Ate, 2 pansit canton tsaka isang 12-ounce na Sprite. Yes! 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 You just order 2 packs of the instant noodles and then you'd get a Sprite, and then that's what was sustaining you. It was so unhealthy, it was so bad, but that was the life that I would not have traded it for anything else. That's I look at those days with some fond nostalgia. All right, I look at those days with some fond nostalgia, and at that point, because everyone in the local scene was just a rage quitter. What I would do in the local Dota scene, my goal then would just be to make as many people rage quit on the other team as much as possible and as quickly as I could. It was like enemy rage quit RTA. That's how I played Dota back in the day. So I would play the most tilting characters and would target. I'd see someone who would spam all chat and would be blah, 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 blah. So I would look for this bastard and I would target them the whole game. One of my favorite characters to do that with was Spirit Breaker. And how appropriate that his name was the Spirit Breaker, because it really broke the enemy spirits when you would constantly just charge them from across the damn map. Yes, the roaming bull. I just go around the map, just find someone, charge them, beat the crap out of them, and because once Spirit Breaker targets you, it is tough to get out of him. It is tough to get out of it in a one-on-one match, because he has this skill that'll constantly just beat the crap out of you, and it knocks you back. And while you're being knocked back, was CC for days. If he attacked you fast enough and would get lucky enough with his hits, you would literally not move at all. He had stuns, slows, chase moves. When he targets you and you are under-equipped, good luck, you're dead. It is a very tilting experience. Now, of course, if the guy you're targeting is a lot stronger than you, you're gonna be dead. But if you target their supports and you target them, he will destroy you. Especially if you have a basher. Yeah, exactly. And then there was also this character. We need to tell you about the legend of Zeus. There was Zeus, the god of thunder, in Dota. And one of his trademark attributes is that his ultimate skill would strike every single one of the members of the enemy team with lightning. Global range. What that means is, it doesn't matter where the hell you are. You can literally be all the way back in your base. If you press your ultimate button, BAM! Lightning will strike and everyone's dead. And what do they use it for? We use that to kill steal. Yes, Victor. You're normally supposed to use it. Yeah, for League players there, it's Karthus. Except here's the problem. Karthus has casting time. Zeus is instant. You press that button, bam! It was normally meant to finish off you know those in big team clashes, someone escapes with like the magic pixel, right? That's what his ult was meant to do. You use that and finish off people who fled. But for the most part, you use it to kill steal. There was one time I was just playing as Zeus too. You know these little war stories, right? I was playing as Zeus. And I'm like, the guy who was in my same lane, he was like that close, like that little HP left. I'm like, oh man, alright, fine. I was level 5. I was level 5. I just needed that much more XP to get my ult. So I kill a bunch of creeps. I get my level 6. I get my ult. I press it. I pressed the button to win, and then I didn't just kill that guy. I pressed the button and it's got triple kill. I'm like, what the hell? They were so pissed off at me. Triple kill. Like, what happened? I was only targeting the guy in front of me, and I'm like, I have to say, I'm sorry, you guys. I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to do a kill steal there. Sounds about right. The normal Dota 1 Zeus experience. Man. I had such fun days. Rush Aghanim's Refresher Orb, hell yes. Aghanim's Refresher was the thing there. They were so annoyed at me because of course I get the money for for the kill, and they just get like, pocket change for the assist. And then there was an item combination. This is what we call, Aghanim's Refresher. What is that? Aghanim's Scepter was an item that empowered certain characters' ults. Okay? Certain characters' ults would get empowered, would get upgraded further if you build this item on them. And unfortunately, one of them was Zeus. So you get the freaking Aghanims, your ult is gonna deal even more damage. There was also another item we called the Refresher Orb. What's the Refresher Orb, chat? Well, the Refresher Orb resets all your cooldowns. Your ults included. Do you know where we're going with this? You upgrade your ultimate and you use it twice in quick succession. The enemy starts off the clash at half HP. Double boom. Or at the end of a clash, you can see it. Yeah, you use the upgraded ult twice in a row. It was broken. It was such a tilting. It was such a tilting mechanism, and it was so fun. Oh shit, triple kill, yep. Those were the Dota days. And then, did I ever dip my toes into Dota 2? Did I ever dip my toes into Dota 2? I just feel bad. I just feel bad about the corpses I left in my wake. But I also feel bad about how they nerfed Axe to the ground. But to be fair, Dota 1 Axe was an absolute menace. So what I did in Dota 2 was the legendary... Lux, you and I were talking about this the other day. The Pub Stomp build. Faceless Void. So, look at the reaction. Look at the reaction of Paisley. Oi, oi. So, what made this hero such a menace, chat? Well, he could stun lock you. He could stun lock you to oblivion, and there's literally nothing you can do about it. He has an ult. I don't know how this got greenlit, but it just is. Chronosphere. You target an area. You target a small area. The big blue ball will just cover that area. Nothing in that sphere can move except for you. You have 6 seconds of uncontested time. Can you imagine? Okay, 5-6 seconds is an eternity in a MOBA. 6 seconds uncontested, and he's a DPS. He'll freeze the area and end you, and there's nothing you can do about it. He also had this passive that was so stupid because he had a 25% chance. He had a 25% chance to dodge all types of damage done to him. All damage done to him. Even magic. Because there was evasion in Dota, but it only works on physical attacks. Now this guy can evade even magic. It's extra tilting too. So that means if Zeus uses his ult on you, there's a 25% chance that you dodge that damage. So, yeah, it doesn't matter. And you can't do anything about it. There's no way to remove that evasion from him. So you can just be screwed by RNG. You really could just get screwed by RNG. It was not fair. It was not it was not in the spirit of fair competition. But that's the way we played it. So Dota 2, yes. Dota 2 was I actually stopped playing Dota 2 because I was like, yeah, this is too mean. The other build I used was Phantom Lancer Diffusal Blade. That pissed off a lot of people too. Phantom Lancer Diffusal Blade. Oh, Paul. just the lighting here. Light of Heaven has decided to show up. There we go. Better. Anyway, before they yeah. Yeah, the only thing about Faceless Void is that he requires his power spike, but there's an easy way to do that in the pub stomp meta. You hide the whole game. You just spend the entire game farming. Then you show up back on the map and everyone's dead. That's it. That's it. It was so easy. Because they didn't do the same strats that they would in the tournament where they actually roam through the jungle and look for your characters, you know what I mean? So you really had the luxury of just farming up all of your items, getting strong at your own pace. So it was so easy to get strong. It was so easy to get the stuff you needed. Then you show up, you just end the game because they couldn't do anything against you. Oh, man. Yeah, the farming simulator went from creeps to champions. Exactly. So, yeah, that's how it was with the Dota scene. And then on the other build, you know, before this becomes a Dota podcast. Although maybe we should have a Dota podcast another time. Just really talk about all of our nostalgia strats, chat. But for me, on my personal level too, it was really tough being the most hardcore gamer among my friend group. Because outside of the common games we all used to play, like the MMOs, Dota, stuff like that, most of them couldn't relate to the games that I would play. Most of the time, they wouldn't even have the consoles required to play it, or they didn't play the games I did, and because, back home, like I was saying, we stuck to the piracy meta because we stuck to free games, because it was expensive. So even now, even my friend group, they still stick to the free games. They play a lot of gacha games. And none of them were ever able to relate to me with, like, Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter, I got that on the PSP. And the PSP was just a really lucky Christmas gift from my relatives from overseas. And, I got the PSP and I started playing Monster Hunter and stuff like that. And what happened was I really got into it. And then I got to the point where, there are multiplayer hunts. And a lot of the really good stuff in the game is locked behind the multiplayer stuff. And I'm like, well, damn. So I started looking it up. Can I play these multiplayer missions by myself? And they said yes. The monsters are scaled for multiplayer, but you still can absolutely try to solo them. And I'm like, all right, let me solo them. So that's how I became a career. That's how I became a career solo hunter. And I was also the only guy who would play competitive Pokemon. I was also the guy who would just explore more games. And outside of the few common games we had, like StarCraft, Warcraft, stuff like that, like none of them really were able to relate to it, which was kind of sad. So it's like, it kind of feels really good right now that we have a community, right, like this, and we can relate. We can share our own war stories from back in the day. One of my favorite accomplishments. We should. Oh, I just got a good idea from that, Prim. We should play Showdown one day. We should start doing local, we should start doing like local community tournaments. We should start doing local community tournaments. I'll just, because it's easy to spectate on Showdown. So we'll just stream it. You guys send me your match codes. I'll just put them on the screen and we can play. We can do like little tournaments. That will be fun. But yeah, essentially, like, there were so many things I had to do solo in Monster Hunter. Like, oh yeah, this monster is we recommend you fight this with at least a friend. I'm like, the only friend I need is myself. So I would have to do the DPS strats and all this stuff just to be able to make up for the lack of people in my team. And it was so funny. Because when I started playing online, when I finally got the internet chat to be able to play Monster Hunter online, everyone sucked. There were so many people who were just carried to their rank by other folks. And then you'd get paired up with them, and I said, wow, I'd rather play this solo. So I ended up just playing solo anyway. Because when you're playing solo in Monster Hunter, it's kind of similar to the way you would a Dark Souls fight or a Souls boss. You're playing one-on-one, so you're focused on their patterns. You're noticing their movements and the best way to dodge and counter the things that they're doing. But if there are multiple people, that monster is targeting, it shifts its targeting to different people every now and then. So you don't have to be as aware of the enemy patterns as you would as if you're going solo. So what happened was, essentially, Jeff, I got isekai to the land of no internet. So when I got back, I was raised in the fires of hell. aka Blue Skies. Blue Skies is a local internet shop, chat. Just a little fun little reference to put in there. So that's someone Kaika again. Yeah. Back at school, most of your friends had the handhelds, depending on which one. Oh, yeah. We had the handhelds did decently for us too. Man. So that's really the experience. That's really the experience of how it was growing up, chat. Games were expensive. We never got the originals. We would play the Green Hills meta of CD arcing. We'd have all these bootleg cartridges from back in the day. Bootleg CDs. We'd be ahead of the curve. We'd have music albums that weren't even out in circulation yet. We were raised by the freaking instant noodles of the internet cafe. Santa Lucy. Oh yeah. We had all of these things. In the PS2, they just doubled down on it. Everyone had modded PS2s, and everyone sold the games for like 100 pesos. We were raised by the MMO scenes. We had local internet cafes. We had the tournament, the LAN parties. And that was just the insanity of the way it was growing up back home, chat. And always online was a death knell because the internet sucked. And it feels very different. It feels like definitely moving halfway across the world, being where I am now, suddenly being being privy to all the conveniences of the modern world. Whilst unfortunately gaming here is a lot more expensive, but thankfully we have Steam sales. We have the free games weekly on Epic Games, and we have Xbox Game Pass. But still, it's not quite. There was something strange and wonderful about that era, that old era of insanity from back in the day. The Hosho Marin meta, right, chat? The bootleg pride. Amen to that. Yup. I'm over leveled for said equipment. A little bit. Alrighty, chat. So we went a little bit over time, but man, it was just so much fun. We had a lot of stories to talk to, and it's just so funny how the SEA crew could all relate to these experiences. That really was how it was for us growing up. I hope for the other international members of the community, like we were able to kind of shed some light on how it was growing up as a gamer back home. So for the next podcast chat, I do want to talk about game balance. Kind of funny how we were just talking about the crazy overpowered broken strats, the cheese strats and whatnot. I was talking about Diablo 4 and Baldur's Gate the other day, so I feel like it's nice to bring up, let's talk about game balance in the next podcast. Okay? That should be fun too. Okay, you guys. So with that, I would say our session is adjourned. Everybody, please take care of yourselves. Have a lovely rest of your day, afternoon, and evening. And I will see you guys tomorrow for the weekly roundup on the reaction channel. All right? So this is Senator War Chief signing out. Otsu Sen.